Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet, and today, a section that I'm going to call Las Vegas Experiences. My wife and I spent 6 years in Las Vegas, and some of it was incredibly hard. The first year that we were in Las Vegas was probably the hardest year of our marriage. Wide variety of things happened. Let's take a step back, though. Prior to moving to Las Vegas, my wife wanted to move to Las Vegas for a good portion of the time that we were in the UK. Not heavily, but just occasionally it was mentioned. And more critically, these things kind of continued. And for me, I had never been to Las Vegas prior, but I couldn't understand how I could make a life for myself in Las Vegas. I couldn't understand what I'd do professionally. And also intellectually, it just seemed like completely the wrong place for Tom Barbalet. It seemed so completely vacuous and so completely removed from any shred of the fibres that kind of glue me together in terms of general psyche sense, that I just couldn't see myself ever living in Las Vegas. It seemed to me to be completely ridiculous, and the more that it was suggested, the more that I realised that this whole thing was just a folly. When we arrived in Las Vegas, a lot of that was brought to fruit. A lot of that was actually the case. It was extraordinarily difficult to find work for me in Las Vegas. I worked for a company in Sunnyvale, Fujitsu, and I worked for a company in LA, Edgeley and Gora Hills called Digital Theatre Systems. Both these companies still exist. But in terms of getting work in Las Vegas, this was contracting work, and this was contracting work that happened a long period of time, months after we arrived in Las Vegas. Now, thankfully I'd saved up a bit of money, but I hadn't saved up a year's worth of survival money to move to the US and then to Las Vegas. My hope initially was actually to work in LA, and there were a few companies in LA that ticked a few of the right boxes. And I had one interview, and my wife didn't like the area, and we just kind of considered that was by the by. They also weren't offering anything comparable to the money that I was making when I was in the UK. It was kind of a bit of a problem as well. Although I realised very swiftly that actually I could survive on vastly less money than I was living on in the UK, or that we were living on. But my experience in Las Vegas was initially associated with just this amazing outflow of cash and selling stuff. Selling almost everything I owned. A few core things that still hold value that I didn't sell. But a lot of stuff that I actually regretted selling, and a lot of stuff that I just it's gotta happen. And after about a year, I got full-time employment for 2/3 what I was making in the UK, but still employment. But this whole period in Las Vegas was just really hard. It was really trying. Then we moved from strength to strength. We were able to buy a house in Las Vegas. We were actually quite comfortable by the time the Las Vegas period concluded. But it did represent a lot of the nihilism that I thought would be there was actually there. And I created almost like an intellectual cocoon and created a lot of things that I liked and enjoyed through that period of time. Truth be told, the best place I've ever lived through my adult life was Wilmslow in the UK, in terms of just the right proximity for a variety of different services that I liked, like bookshops and okay restaurants. Good walking in a variety of different directions, and close proximity to a large city when you want a large city. But Las Vegas was something that represented how you could take really, and, literally on the edge of homelessness in circumstances, and translate that into something that was very comfortable through survival, through tenacity, through a series of things that I really wouldn't wish on other people, but I'd already had those experiences. I'd already gone through that when I first arrived in the UK. And I'd gone through that when I lived in Australia. So Las Vegas was what it was. I wanted to give this framing before I got into deeper Las Vegas topics. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing off.